The mistress tricked the millionaire into leaving his pregnant wife. Now she's raising the baby alone. He was a multi-millionaire, a man adored by the public for his generosity and admired by his business associates for his ruthlessness in negotiations. She was the captivating mistress who had wormed her way into his heart by delivering exactly what his weary soul craved: excitement, intrigue, an escape from his structured life. Meanwhile, his devoted wife carried a secret. She was pregnant with the heir to his legacy. But in a whirlwind of deceit, the mistress tricked him into abandoning everything, including the woman carrying his child. Now the question looms: how did one cunning woman unravel his world? And can his abandoned wife ever reclaim hers? Liam Thompson was born and raised in a middle-class family in Providence, Rhode Island. His parents, David and Susan Thompson, were humble, hardworking people who valued resilience and ambition. Liam grew up watching his father handle multiple jobs to ensure that the family never lacked necessities. And from an early age, he internalized the importance of success. By his mid-20s, he had founded Thompson International, a technology consultancy firm that swiftly multiplied his net worth. By 35, Liam was a multimillionaire. His wife, Olivia Miller, née Somerset, was his high school sweetheart. She was tall, gentle, with an artist's soul and a nurturing spirit. Olivia believed in family, in loyalty, and in the vows they had exchanged before the old chapel in Providence. When Liam's success began skyrocketing, Olivia supported him wholeheartedly, sacrificing her own artistic ambitions to stand by the man she believed in. He became, in many ways, the center of her universe. On the surface, they had the perfect life. Their penthouse overlooking Central Park in Manhattan screamed opulence: marble floors, glass walls, and panoramic city views that left visitors in awe. They owned vacation homes in the Hamptons, Aspen, and an exotic villa in Bali. Their parties drew in tech gurus, celebrities, and even philanthropic icons like Bill and Melinda Gates on occasion. Olivia often played hostess with effortless grace, wearing custom-made gowns while politely making conversations with some of the world's most influential figures. But beneath this glittering veneer was a truth that Olivia had kept quietly buried: her loneliness. Liam's attention, once so fully devoted to her, had gradually drifted. As his company soared, she felt him slip away into a lifestyle that demanded more from him than she could ever imagine. Late-night business dinners, power lunches, global travel, brand sponsorships, philanthropic events, and a digital world that never slept. In the hushed corners of their marriage, Olivia sensed a void expanding. Olivia's pregnancy, her first, was in her mind, the miracle that would fuse them together once more. She harbored a sweet vision: Liam pacing the hospital corridors, tears of joy in his eyes as she held their newborn. She could picture him cradling their baby with a reverent smile, and she believed with all her heart that this child would bring them closer. After all, they had always dreamed of starting a family. Yet, Olivia had no inkling that even as she prepared to share this life-changing news with Liam, there was another woman waiting in the shadows, plotting to take everything from her. Isabella Bella Vance was not born into wealth. Her mother, Maria Vance, was a single parent who struggled with menial jobs. Bella, though intelligent and beautiful, quickly developed a skewed perspective on life. She believed money was the ultimate power, Beauty was her currency, and cunning was her weapon. Her path intersected with Liam's at a gala for a tech charity event in Midtown Manhattan. Many claimed it was sheer coincidence. Others claimed it was orchestrated. Bella herself boasted about how carefully she had planned her introduction, wearing a figure-hugging emerald gown that accentuated every curve. She'd done her research. Liam was known to have a particular fondness for elegance with a hint of boldness. So, she stepped in front of him at the open bar, turned with a smooth flick of her hair, and smiled. "Liam Thompson, right? I'm Isabella Vance. I've heard a lot about your philanthropy and success. May I just say, I'm honored to meet you." She was confident, radiating a sophisticated charm that awakened something in Liam. He had many admirers, but there was something about Bella's assertive directness that aroused his curiosity. Within moments, the conversation soared from polite greetings to in-depth discussions about personal philosophies, philanthropic ambitions, and the world at large. Olivia, who had been mingling with a group of donors, noticed her husband lost in the conversation, unaware of the seeds being planted in that moment. She felt a slight twinge of jealousy, but dismissed it as a normal pang of protectiveness. After all, Liam was used to admirers. She had often told herself she trusted him implicitly. What Olivia did not see was the way Bella slid a business card into Liam's hand as they parted, whispering, "Don't lose it. I think we have a lot to talk about." A subtle wink followed. Within days, Liam and Bella were exchanging texts, discussing business opportunities that might dovetail with Thompson International. Soon, they arranged coffee meetups that turned into lunches, which then extended into after-hour drinks. Bella was careful not to push too hard. She let Liam reach out to her, feeding him just enough intrigue that he would want to chase her. All the while, she studied his weaknesses, unveiling piece by piece how his marriage felt stale, how Olivia's needs no longer aligned perfectly with his. And Liam, lulled by the excitement of an affair he never thought himself capable of, slid deeper into Bella's charms, oblivious to the real cost. Olivia discovered her pregnancy around the same time Liam began regularly seeing Bella in secret. She had felt strange for weeks, queasy, emotional, unusually tired. One morning, after 3 consecutive positive pregnancy tests, she stood in the bathroom, heart pounding with joy and trepidation. How would Liam react? She pictured him smiling, lifting her into his arms, promising to be the best father in the world. The night Olivia broke the news, Liam showed an odd mixture of excitement and distance. He feigned joy. He did hug her, and there was relief in his eyes. But Olivia sensed that it wasn't the undiluted happiness she had longed for. Something was off. Now, Bella saw the pregnancy as a challenge. She had not anticipated that Olivia might be pregnant. A child solidified marriages, especially in families with old-fashioned, deep-seated values like the Thompsons. Bella needed a plan, and she needed it fast. If Liam were to ever consider leaving Olivia, it certainly wouldn't be while she carried his baby. She had to find a way to twist the narrative, to ensure that Olivia became the antagonist in Liam's eyes and that Bella could paint herself as the savior. That was when Bella began her cunning campaign. First, she ingratiated herself with Thompson International staff, building relationships with a few employees who could feed her insider information. Through small bribes and manipulative flirtations, she learned about certain tensions within the company, regulatory complexities, a rumor about Olivia interfering with a deal, or so it was said. Bella concocted carefully orchestrated illusions. She would feed Liam gossip that made Olivia appear manipulative or untrustworthy, even though Olivia was blissfully unaware that her name was being tarnished. Bella's final stroke was to exploit a philanthropic partnership with a reputable law firm in Manhattan, whose partner, Mark Davis, was also someone she had been romantically involved with in the past. Through Davis, she accessed a handful of internal memoranda that cast vague suspicion on Olivia's role in shaping philanthropic ventures. It was all legal, but carefully arranged to appear questionable. Now, all Bella needed to do was drip these documents into Liam's consciousness at just the right moments, making it seem like Olivia might be using his philanthropic endeavors for personal or unscrupulous purposes. It worked. Liam, already feeling distant, began to question Olivia's sincerity, misattributing his wife's genuine charitable spirit to a cunning scheme. His trust in his pregnant wife cracked under the weight of false evidence. And who was there to comfort him? To whisper in his ear about how true love should have no secrets? Bella, of course. The tension in the penthouse was palpable. Olivia felt Liam pulling away, showing up late with flimsy excuses, checking his phone constantly with a protective grip. At first, she reasoned it was just the stress of running Thompson International, but the thought kept gnawing at her. Something is wrong. One evening, unable to contain her desperation, she confronted him in the kitchen while dinner remained half-cooked on the stove. Her hair disheveled, face pale, tears brimming in her eyes. Olivia demanded to know why Liam was so distant. "What's going on with you? Liam, why won't you even look at me when I ask about your day? Don't you want this baby? Don't you want us anymore?" She hadn't expected the fury that blazed in his eyes. In a heated outpouring, Liam unleashed all the doubts Bella had carefully sown. He accused Olivia of manipulative behavior, of meddling in philanthropic ventures for personal gain, and insinuated that her pregnancy might be a convenient ploy to secure her position in his life. Olivia's face drained of color. She defended herself passionately, but the more she tried to reason with Liam, the more he shut her out, clinging to the misinformation Bella had planted. The argument escalated into a heartbreakingly toxic exchange, accusations, tears, yelling. By the end of it, Liam stormed out, leaving Olivia sobbing on the cold marble floor. Outside in the corridor, Liam felt a pang of guilt. He had never seen Olivia so distraught. But the emotional high of condemnation, combined with the illicit excitement Bella offered, clouded his judgment. He jumped into the elevator, ignoring the pit in his stomach that told him he was making the worst mistake of his life. Olivia hoped that night had merely been an aberration, a result of pent-up stress that Liam would eventually see through. Over the next week, she tried to restore normalcy, cooking his favorite meals, wearing the dress he loved, playing the music they used to dance to in college. But Liam's responses were distant. He would either be absent or, if present, locked away in his office. Worried for her health and her baby's well-being, Olivia scheduled an appointment with her doctor. It was at that prenatal visit that she heard her baby's heartbeat for the first time. A swift, fluttering rhythm that brought tears to her eyes. She longed for Liam to be in that room with her, to share in the wonder. Instead, she was alone, holding on to hope as tightly as she clutched the ultrasound images. Meanwhile, Bella was reveling in her success. She appeared at Liam's side at business functions, quietly inserted herself into lunches with key investors and became a frequent presence at Thompson International events. Tongues began to wag about the nature of their closeness, but it was never overt. Liam was not the type to flaunt an affair, and Bella was careful to retain an air of professionalism. Just enough plausible deniability for him to justify. At the same time, Bella launched a new phase of her strategy, undermining Olivia's image in Manhattan society. Rumors circulated that Olivia was moody, controlling, and that Liam's success was purely his own. It took only a few well-placed whispers at the right charity dinner or cocktail party for these untruths to gain traction. By the time Olivia realized her social invites were dwindling, the damage was already done. When Liam announced he was filing for separation, Olivia thought she was hallucinating. She had just crossed the threshold into her second trimester, her belly gently swelling, her morning sickness receding. She clung to the naive belief that Liam would come around once he saw the shape of their child. But instead, she found official documents on the dining table one afternoon, the signature line already bearing Liam's pen. Her cries echoed in the silent penthouse. She called him repeatedly, but each call went unanswered. When at last she managed to confront him in person, he avoided her gaze, stating, "We need space. Olivia, I don't see this working anymore." His words felt like a dagger. She noticed he had a bag packed. He was leaving. And going where? Of course, Olivia suspected it had to be Bella. In her heartbreak, she pleaded with him to reconsider, for the sake of their child, to at least try counseling. But Liam was too far gone, bound by the illusions he believed and the new life he thought he wanted. Olivia stood in the doorway, tears streaming as he walked out. It was the last time she would see him in their penthouse as her husband. That night, the city lights glowed as usual, oblivious to the storm raging inside Olivia's heart. Bella Vance stood on the balcony of her luxurious high-rise condo near Bryant Park, letting the soft glow of the city lights bathe her face. She breathed in the crisp Manhattan air, feeling a surge of triumph course through her veins. In a matter of weeks, she had gotten exactly what she wanted, Liam Thompson's undivided attention. The same Liam, who had once been so devoted to his pregnant wife, now slept in Bella's bed, surrounded by her carefully chosen decor. Inside the condo, sleek lines and minimalist furniture replaced the warmth that once defined Liam's marital home. Everything in Bella's space was curated for maximum effect, neutral colors that accentuated the dramatic view of the skyline, avant-garde art pieces that spoke of extravagance, and custom lighting that made the entire apartment seem almost otherworldly. Rare spirits lined the mirrored shelves of a built-in bar. It was precisely the environment Bella believed a powerful man like Liam deserved. One that echoed wealth, indulgence, and an undercurrent of danger. Bella had spared no expense. She wanted Liam to forget the comfort of Olivia's soft presence, her home cooking, the art studio she'd nurtured. Instead, Bella offered a dazzling new world, nights at exclusive clubs, dinners among elite circles, and constant reminders that life could be far more thrilling without the shackles of an ordinary marriage. When Liam first stepped into the condo, he felt a heady rush, like stepping onto a floating island of endless possibility, far from reality. At soirees around the city, Liam and Bella glided together like an avant-garde power couple. She sported designer dresses in bold cuts and daring colors, each new outfit meticulously posted to her curated social media feed. though she rarely tagged Liam, preserving a thin veil of discretion. Their public outings ignited gossip, but offered little concrete proof of an affair. Meanwhile, Liam, harboring a swirl of guilt, found it easier to lean into the illusion of excitement rather than confront the moral weight of having abandoned his pregnant wife. Bella knew how to work a room. A subtle brush of the hand against Liam's arm, a bright laugh at just the right moment, and a lingering gaze that made him forget his growing disquiet. She relished the attention, thrived under the cameras that occasionally caught her stepping into black limousines at Liam's side. For a while, it seemed like the entire city was their playground, and that her place in his life was cemented. Behind closed doors, however, a different story was unfolding. The polished, confident woman the world saw at charity galas and business dinners had a darker edge. Bella's patience, carefully cultivated during her pursuit of Liam, began wearing thin now that she believed she had him in her grasp. It started with mild suspicions, a sideways glance at his phone whenever it buzzed, innocent questions about who he was texting. But soon, those suspicions escalated. Bella became possessive, almost territorial. She would grab Liam's phone and skim through messages without permission, her eyes narrowing at any female contact listed. When he objected, she turned frosty, accusing him of hiding something. Or worse, thinking about Olivia. The transformation unsettled Liam. He had never known her to be so volatile. During their initial flirtations, she had been all charms and laughter. Now, every night felt like a new test of loyalty. On the evenings when Liam returned late from a board meeting or a dinner that Bella wasn't invited to, she greeted him with an interrogation. Each explanation he offered spurred more questions, more anger, and when that anger subsided, it often turned into a seductive manipulation, Bella draping herself across the sofa, whispering apologies that bled into suggestive pleas, ensuring that he was too enthralled to resist her. The crowning weapon in Bella's arsenal was her ability to exploit Liam's guilt over leaving Olivia. When he showed any sign of remorse, Bella would seize upon the lies she had planted about Olivia's supposed treachery. She only wanted your money, she'd say coolly, her hand trailing along Liam's jaw. Remember those confidential documents you saw? Remember how she tried to leverage your philanthropy for her own gains? He'd shift uncomfortably, torn between the memory of his gentle, devoted wife and the supposedly damning evidence Bella kept referring to. She never let the conversation linger too long on Olivia, shifting gears the moment she sensed his doubt returning. A stroke of his arm, a whisper in his ear, and the subject changed to something more dangerous yet undeniably enthralling: new business ventures. Hush-hush corporate maneuvers. Anything to keep him hooked on her world, and off balance when it came to facts. Late at night, when the city settled into its dim hush, Liam found himself wrestling with an unshakable sense of unease. Lying in Bella's king-size bed, listening to the hum of traffic far below, he would recall Olivia's voice or picture the ultrasound photo he once saw only fleetingly. As the father of an unborn child, he knew he should be at the hospital visits, should be holding his wife's hand through morning sickness and doctor's appointments. Instead, he was in a loft of glass and steel, hearing the echoes of Bella's possessive accusations. His anguish deepened each time he thought of Olivia's tear-stained face the night he walked out. He had left her alone, pregnant and trembling, based on rumors and suspicions he hadn't fully verified. Did that make him a weak, gullible fool? Or was Olivia really the manipulator Bella insisted she was? His rational mind told him that Olivia didn't have a scheming bone in her body. His pride, wounded by illusions of betrayal, told him otherwise. Bella, fully aware that Liam was on precarious emotional ground, crafted their life to keep him tethered. She arranged late-night dinners with potential investors, choreographed exotic weekend getaways where she showered Liam with attention, and reminded him that she was the one who truly understood him. She also maintained a steady stream of subtle threats, reminders that the lies she had fed him about Olivia could surface if he ever considered going back. "You don't want to be humiliated by her again," Bella would say, implying that Olivia was just waiting for a chance to destroy him. Although Liam felt increasingly trapped, there was a twisted comfort in the chaos. With Bella, there was never a dull moment, a constant edge-of-the-seat existence that, strangely enough, spared him from dwelling too long on his conscience. Despite the veneer of control Bella exuded, she was beginning to feel her grip loosen. She noticed the flickers of doubt in Liam's eyes. She sensed his guilt flaring whenever someone mentioned a baby. Sometimes, if he thought she wasn't paying attention, he would stare silently at the skyline, lost in a sorrow that felt deeper than any fleeting indulgence she could offer. But Bella wouldn't stand for being second to anyone, not even a pregnant wife. She tightened her tactics. If Liam texted Olivia about the pregnancy, Bella found ways to punish him, refusing intimacy, disappearing for hours without telling him where she went. She wanted him to fear losing her the way she feared losing her foothold in his life. It was toxic, but effective. Each time Liam tried to articulate his doubts, she lashed out first with anger, then with the promise of thrilling plans for the future, reminding him of the ambition that drove him away from his old life in the first place. As the weeks passed, the question of what next loomed over them both. Liam worried about his company's image, about the scandal that might erupt if the truth of his affair ever became undeniably public. Bella feared that as Olivia's due date approached, Liam's sense of paternal duty might intensify, and so she became ever more controlling, weaving a web of lies and half-truths that continuously painted Olivia as an adversary. The tension between them grew as thick as the summer humidity outside their tower windows. Beneath the triumphant veneer, the mistress sensed that her victory was built on precarious ground, and the millionaire, torn between guilt and pride, had yet to grasp just how far he'd fallen under her spell. Their nights were increasingly punctuated by heated arguments that morphed into passionate reconciliations, both of them dancing on the edge of a disaster that neither could fully name. Yes, Bella wore the crown she had won. She had forced Liam out of his marital home and placed him at her side. But the heavier that crown became, the more paranoid and desperate she grew. With each victory came a new fear that Liam would one day see beyond her carefully constructed illusions, realize the devastation he'd left behind, and attempt to reclaim a life that, despite its cracks, still held the genuine promise of love. For now, though, Bella prevailed. The mistress had indeed triumphed. But neither she nor Liam realized that their uneasy kingdom was already beginning to crumble from within, setting the stage for repercussions that would upend everything they thought they had built. Olivia found herself ostracized from many of the circles she once belonged to. She had been the philanthropic heart of the Thompson name, but with rumors swirling and Liam gone, the invitations evaporated. She had some financial security, But everything was entangled in complex prenuptial agreements that favored Liam. She found herself overwhelmed by legal complexities. In her darkest hours, she sought solace in her old friend, Emily Hayes, an artist who lived in a modest apartment in Brooklyn. Emily had never been dazzled by Liam's wealth. She had always cared for Olivia's well-being and had felt uneasy about the changes in Olivia's life for years. In that tiny Brooklyn kitchen, over cups of herbal tea, Olivia finally opened up. She wept uncontrollably as she shared her heartbreak, her confusion, her fear of raising a child alone. Emily listened intently and gave her a piece of advice that would cling to Olivia's mind. Stand in your truth. Let Liam deal with his. Be the mother your child deserves, because that's the most important thing now. It was the first glimmer of empowerment Olivia had felt in months. Holding her belly, she promised the unborn child that she would protect it with every fiber of her being. With Olivia effectively cast aside, Bella turned her attention to securing her own future. Liam had parted ways with his pregnant wife, but divorces in wealthy circles could be notoriously messy and drawn out. Bella wanted to ensure that when all was said and done, she would have the prime seat at the table. She began talking to Liam about new ventures, expansions, and investments. She pitched the idea of starting an entirely new philanthropic foundation, cleverly named the Vance Thompson Initiative, which she claimed would champion underprivileged women in tech. She persuaded Liam that this foundation would overshadow any philanthropic project Olivia had ever been involved with, proving that Liam's brand was unstoppable. Even post-separation, Liam found himself funneling more and more money into joint ventures with Bella. His original philanthropic structures, the ones Olivia had helped develop with sincerity, were slowly being dissolved or rebranded. Meanwhile, Bella insisted on prenuptial terms of her own, just in case. She lured Liam with the promise of a new kind of partnership, both romantic and financial, one that would safeguard him against freeloaders. But behind this grand vision, Bella was already looking for a bigger fish. The hush-hush rumor in investment circles was that Liam's greatest rival, Julian Adler, was on the lookout for a new partner in an upcoming multi-billion-dollar tech venture. Bella's ears perked up at the possibility of forging an alliance with Adler if her relationship with Liam ever soured. As far as she was concerned, Liam's money was a stepping stone, useful for now, but not necessarily forever. Amid all the chaos, Olivia's pregnancy advanced. She attended her doctor's appointments alone, bonded with her unborn baby through every kick, every flutter, every beat of the heart. Despite her emotional torment, she felt a powerful sense of purpose. She began painting again, a pastime she had once loved. Her canvases depicted swirling abstracts of pain and rebirth, capturing the turmoil in her life, but also the spark of new beginnings. In her 6th month, Olivia resolved not to drown in bitterness. She started volunteering at a local community center in Brooklyn, teaching art classes to children. This act, though modest, reaffirmed her sense of self-worth. She might have lost the high-profile philanthropic engagements, but she discovered she could still make a difference, even on a smaller scale. One day, while leaving the community center, she nearly bumped into Mark Davis, the Manhattan lawyer who had known Bella. Olivia recognized him from one of Liam's corporate parties. Surprised to see him in such a humble neighborhood, she politely struck up a conversation. To her shock, Mark hinted that the rumors about Olivia had been twisted, that he never intended for certain documents to be misconstrued as evidence of wrongdoing. He apologized for any role he might have inadvertently played in fueling Liam's suspicions. Sensing Olivia's heartbreak, he confided that Bella was extremely persuasive with her own agenda. Although he didn't fully admit culpability, Mark's guarded words confirmed many of Olivia's suspicions. Even so, Olivia refrained from confrontation. She sensed that Liam might not believe her, and she was running low on emotional reserves. For now, she would carry on, focusing on her child, preparing for the day she would become a mother. Liam Thompson woke before dawn, his heart thudding against his ribs. The penthouse still drenched in shadows. It wasn't Olivia's gentle presence stirring beside him. No warm morning routine of tea and quiet conversation. Instead, Bella lay sprawled across gleaming black silk sheets, one arm flung possessively over his chest. As sleep lifted, he realized once again how alien his own life had become. Bella had grown bolder, more invasive. Her jealousy, once disguised as playful possessiveness, now erupted in demanding questions the moment Liam showed even a passing hint of independence. One evening, she snatched his phone from the countertop with a flourish, scrolling through his messages and call logs. He watched her manicured finger tap the screen repeatedly, her lips curling into a frown whenever she spotted a female name, past colleagues, longtime friends, even relatives he seldom contacted. "What does Jessica Morgan want with you?" she snapped. Jessica was an old friend from college who had reached out to check on Liam after hearing about his split from Olivia. "Nothing. She's just worried," he murmured, trying to reclaim his phone. But Bella refused to hand it over. "Worried about what?" "You're with me now," Bella said, her voice edged in ice. "I'm sick of everyone poking their noses into our relationship." Within the last few weeks, she demanded full access to his social media accounts, insisted on being CC'd on certain work emails, and pressed for details about every contact in his phone. Initially, Liam had mistaken her intrusive behavior for genuine concern. He was, after all, a high-profile millionaire with a complicated personal life. But the deeper she dug, the more he felt cornered. The tension simmered between them, unspoken, but ever-present, a constant hum in the background of his thoughts. Meanwhile, chaos was brewing within Thompson International, their philanthropic wing, once the jewel in Liam's crown, and heavily guided by Olivia's compassionate vision, was losing key donors at an alarming rate. Philanthropists like a staunch supporter of education reform suddenly reneged on funding commitments. Others offered lukewarm excuses, citing internal policy shifts or economic uncertainties. But Liam soon discovered the real reason behind the exodus. Donors simply didn't trust the new direction under Bella's influence. They quietly voiced concerns that Olivia's removal from philanthropic initiatives felt rushed and disingenuous. The rebranding had stripped away the personal touch Olivia brought, site visits to local schools, personal letters to scholarship recipients, community art projects. In its place stood glossy marketing campaigns that flashed Bella's face at black-tie galas, showcasing a style-over-substance approach. Inside the walls of Thompson International, the undercurrent of unease was palpable. Employees who had once admired Liam for his fairness and vision now whispered among themselves about his abrupt transformation. Sophia Chun, a project manager who had worked closely with Olivia on a series of educational grants, found her proposals repeatedly sidelined in favor of more glamorous but less impactful projects Bella championed. "It's like she's hollowing out the soul of this company," Sophia complained to her colleagues. Staff turnover climbed. People who couldn't reconcile with the new ethos resigned. Even those who stayed became wary and tense, sensing that Liam's moral compass had tilted. Where once the name Thompson commanded both respect and warm admiration, now it drew speculation and sometimes pity. It was as if the entire organization collectively missed Olivia's steady guidance. In Liam's solitary moments, rare as they were, he found his mind drifting back to his pregnant wife. He remembered the lavender scent of her hair, the peaceful glow she exuded when discussing art or community work, and the way her smile could soften even his most stressful days. He recalled the day she told him about the baby, how her eyes glistened with hope and excitement. Now that very child grew inside her while he was here, entangled in Bella's formidable grip. He questioned the stories Bella had spun about Olivia's hidden motives. Slowly, a gnawing realization took shape. Olivia's pregnancy was real. The vows they had shared were real. Could she truly have deceived him to the extent he had allowed himself to believe? Or had he willfully fallen prey to someone else's deceit because it was easier to indulge in excitement than confront the slow erosion of his marriage? Bella sensed the shift in him. How his touch felt absent. How he no longer laughed at her casual jokes. How he sometimes stared off into the city lights with a longing that unnerved her. She doubled down on her campaign to keep him bound to her, alternating between sultry whispers of an extravagant future and bursts of rage when he hesitated to plan their next public outing. When tears and seduction failed, she turned to subtler manipulations, showcasing proof of Olivia's alleged wrongdoing, reminding Liam of the so-called betrayals that had pushed him away from his wife in the first place. "She's just using that baby to chain you down," Bella would say, cradling his face with a trembling hand. "You deserve more. Liam, you deserve me." But the illusions that once enthralled Liam no longer shone so brightly. Each insistent whisper, each attempt to demonize Olivia, only stirred more unease in his heart. He felt like a man perched on a ledge, caught between the allure of the unknown and the haunting pull of what he had abandoned. Day by day, the cracks in this fragile affair widened, leaving Liam to wonder if the life he'd embraced was built on a fault line destined to swallow him whole. When Olivia went into a premature labor scare at 7 months, Liam got an urgent call from the hospital. It was the first time they'd spoken in weeks. Panic rose in his chest. He felt something primal inside him snap. He rushed to the hospital, ignoring Bella's demands to know where he was going. Adrenaline pulsed through him as he remembered the old vow, in sickness and in health. He arrived at the hospital breathless to find Olivia hooked up to monitors. The baby's heartbeat was steady, but the doctors warned her to reduce stress and rest. Olivia was surprised he came, and for a moment, they locked eyes. The tension, the pain, all the betrayal lingered in that silence. But overshadowing it was something deeper, an unspoken bond forged through the child they had created. Olivia's tears silently fell as Liam gently took her hand. He wanted to apologize, but no words came. She didn't have the strength or will to rehash the heartbreak. Instead, they sat in silence until the doctors confirmed that Olivia was stable. Bella, of course, bombarded Liam with calls and texts. He ignored them, an uncharacteristic move that signaled a shift in his priorities. After Olivia was discharged, Liam accompanied her to her apartment. They walked in a silence thick with unspoken regrets. "Thank you for coming," Olivia managed, her voice trembling. It means a lot. He nodded, guilt radiating from him. I'm sorry I wasn't there for you. They exchanged a weary glance. So much had happened, yet a shred of empathy sparked between them. Ultimately, Liam left, promising to check in on her. Whether it was the beginning of reconciliation or just a fleeting moment of conscience, neither could say. When Liam returned to Bella's condo, he found her pacing, livid. She hurled accusations. He was going back to Olivia. How dare he ignore her calls? Did he forget that Olivia was the enemy? Liam saw in stark clarity how distorted Bella's view of the situation was. The woman he had once found so alluring now seemed manic and controlling. For the first time, he pushed back. Don't call my wife the enemy. Bella, she's carrying my baby. Our baby. I had to be there. Bella's face twisted. I'm the one who's been with you, supporting you through all this. You owe me. His heart sank at the word owe. This was never supposed to be about owing anything. He retreated to the spare bedroom, ignoring Bella's tears of rage. Deep into that sleepless night, Liam realized how deeply he had erred. He had thrown away a decade of marriage, a child, and possibly all the happiness that came with them for an infatuation that now seemed hollow. Could he salvage the pieces? Did he even deserve a second chance? By the time Olivia was nearing her 9th month, Liam had resolved to break ties with Bella. He intended to do it cleanly. But Bella, sensing the shift in him, preempted the conversation. With her typical cunning, she used the information and financial leverage she had gleaned over the months to threaten him. She had documents that could paint him in an unfavorable light, possibly harming Thompson International's reputation further. She also claimed she was pregnant, though Liam, suspecting deceit, asked for medical proof she never provided. One evening, Liam came home to find that Bella had emptied out every valuable she could get her hands on, art pieces he had bought, rare collectibles, even some confidential files. She was gone, leaving behind only a cryptic note. I'll always land on my feet. Have fun picking up the pieces. It was a crushing blow, personally and financially. But amid the chaos, Liam felt an odd sense of relief. The poison was gone, though the damage remained. Now the only thing that mattered was Olivia and their baby. Olivia's labor began on a drizzly morning in April. She was alone in her modest Brooklyn apartment when the contractions started. Determined to handle it herself, she called Emily, who rushed over. However, word somehow reached Liam, likely through a mutual friend who knew Olivia's condition was precarious. He dropped everything to drive across the city in a panic. They arrived at the hospital just in time. Olivia was in active labor, gripped by both pain and fear. Seeing Liam burst through the doors, sweat on his brow, tears in his eyes, was almost surreal to her. For the next few hours, he held her hand, whispering apologies and encouragement. He was there through every contraction, every anguished cry, until the shrill cry of a newborn filled the room. A healthy baby boy came into the world with a crop of dark hair and a determined wail. The moment they placed him on Olivia's chest, she broke into sobs of overwhelming relief and joy. Liam, tears streaming down his face, touched his son's tiny hand. 1,000 emotions roared through him: regret, love, guilt, wonder. Olivia looked at him, unsure what to say. There was no easy forgiveness or resolution for their broken marriage. But in that moment, they shared a bond no betrayal could entirely dissolve. They were parents. For the next few weeks, Liam tried to be there for Olivia and the baby, whom they named Noah. He brought supplies, handled legal matters, and even changed diapers at 2 o'clock in the morning. But Olivia kept her distance emotionally. The wounds were fresh, and trust, once shattered, is not easily restored. She didn't bar him from seeing Noah, but nor did she invite him to stay overnight. Every time Liam saw their son, his heart ached with remorse. He offered to move them back into the penthouse, to care for her financially, to fix everything he could. But Olivia, her eyes reflecting both sadness and newfound strength, politely declined. It's not about money or a fancy home. You shatter my trust. Liam, I need time to heal, to think about what's best for Noah and me. Liam accepted her decision, though it crushed him. He sought therapy, began reconciling with estranged friends, and faced the company fallout. Thompson International was badly bruised, and he spent long hours patching up relationships with investors. He discovered that Bella had also approached Julian Adler, which confirmed his suspicions about her opportunism. Yet through it all, a glimmer of hope survived in Liam. If he could prove himself worthy, maybe Olivia might someday let him back in her life. No one expected Bella to come back. Yet, 6 months later, she did. By then, Olivia was adjusting to life as a single mother. She had grown stronger, forging a path for herself and Noah that didn't rely on Liam's name. Though Liam contributed financially, Olivia maintained her independence. Bella's return came in the form of a tabloid scandal. She had been arrested in Chicago for trying to pass falsified financial documents. Even more shocking was the rumor that she might be pregnant, but not necessarily with Liam's child. A swirl of contradictory stories flooded tabloids. One story claimed Bella was naming Liam as the father. Another said Julian Adler was involved. In short, it was a media circus, none of which Olivia took pleasure in watching. She had no time to dwell on it, busy as she was with Noah and her new art business, which was gaining traction online. Liam, however, had to deal with the public relations mess. Reporters clamored to know his connection to Bella, whether he had fathered her child, whether there was any financial impropriety on his part. Under pressure, Liam had to publicly denounce Bella's claims and reaffirm his paternal responsibility only to Noah. Through legal counsel, he demanded a paternity test from Bella, which she never provided. The saga ended abruptly when Bella vanished again, presumably cutting her losses and heading for a new city, a new mark. Over the next few years, Olivia built a stable life for herself and Noah. She opened a small art gallery in Brooklyn called Somerset Studio, named partly after her maiden name. The gallery became a local success, hosting art therapy sessions for mothers, children, and survivors of domestic issues. Emily Hayes served as a co-curator, forging a supportive and creative space that thrived on community goodwill. Liam, on the other hand, made substantial changes. After a thorough investigation, he weeded out the employees who had colluded with Bella. He restructured Thompson International, focusing on genuine philanthropic work that reflected the values he once shared with Olivia. He poured funds into youth education programs, many of which Olivia quietly approved of, seeing they were benefiting underprivileged neighborhoods. Yet, on the personal front, Liam struggled with the knowledge that he might never fully mend the relationship. He had visitation rights with Noah, and Olivia allowed him regular contact. Noah grew up knowing his father, spending alternating weekends with him. But the deep intimacy Olivia and Liam once shared remained elusive. She had become cautious, protecting both her heart and her son from further betrayal. Occasionally, they would meet for dinner to discuss Noah's well-being. These evenings were polite, but marked by an undercurrent of unresolved emotion. Neither was entirely sure how to navigate the territory between amicable co-parenting and the remnants of their once powerful love. On Noah's 5th birthday, Olivia hosted a small party at her gallery. She invited Liam, who arrived bearing a large gift-wrap box, a set of wooden art supplies for children, reminiscent of the artistry Olivia cherished. The party was a simple affair, close friends, kids from the neighborhood, a homemade cake. At one point, Liam and Olivia found themselves alone by the gallery's back door. Noah was busy playing with friends. Light streamed through the windows, illuminating the painting Olivia had created during her most painful moments. "You've come a long way," Liam said softly, admiring her work. "I'm proud of you." She smiled, sadness flickering. "We've both had to learn a lot. Sometimes the hardest lessons leave scars." He nodded, voice trembling slightly. "I'm truly sorry, Olivia, for everything." She looked up, tears gathering. "I forgave you a long time ago. That doesn't mean I can forget. But Noah deserves parents who respect each other." They stood in silence, an unspoken understanding passing between them. It wasn't a grand reconciliation or a Hollywood ending, but it was a step toward peace. In the years to follow, Bella never resurfaced in Olivia's life, aside from the occasional rumor of her manipulative exploits in distant cities. Whether she truly ended up raising a child alone, no one knew for certain. There were whispers she'd been seen in Los Angeles, heavily pregnant, leaning on another wealthy patron. There were claims she had left that child with family members to chase her next fortune. It was all hearsay, and eventually, people moved on. Liam found solace in being a better father. He became deeply involved with Noah's education, coached Little League Baseball, and sometimes took him on weekend trips to the Hamptons. Those weekends were the highlight of Liam's life. Moments of pure joy, untarnished by scandal or regret. Though regret lurked in the corners of his mind. Olivia, now recognized for her art and philanthropic outreach, lived a life of measured contentment. She dated occasionally, never letting relationships overshadow her devotion to Noah. A man named Daniel, a kind-hearted architect, showed genuine interest in building a future with her. Time would tell if that future included marriage. But for now, Olivia remained protective of her heart and her son's happiness. And so the story settled into a sober reflection of life's complexities. The mistress, in her quest for power, had tricked the millionaire into abandoning his pregnant wife. She achieved her short-term goals: wealth, luxury, and status, but lost it all when her deception came to light. The millionaire, Liam, lived with the scars of betrayal and tried to redeem himself through fatherhood and philanthropic work. The abandoned wife, Olivia, carried on with grace, raising her child alone for the early years, but gradually allowed Liam to become a part of Noah's life. It was not the fairy tale Olivia had once imagined, nor the blazing success Liam once dreamed of. But in life, sometimes surviving the storm is its own triumph, and rebuilding on your own terms can be the greatest victory of all. Thank you for immersing yourself in this dramatic journey of love, betrayal, and redemption. We witnessed how a seemingly unbreakable marriage, adorned by wealth and social standing, could collapse under the weight of deceit, and how one woman's unwavering courage carried her through heartbreak to the dawn of a new beginning. This story reminds us that even in the midst of our darkest trials, hope can emerge, and second chances do exist, even if they take unexpected forms. If this tale moved you, if you felt Olivia's heartbreak, Liam's remorse, or the chilling manipulations of Bella, consider showing your support. Like this video to let us know you enjoyed the storytelling. Share it with friends who appreciate real-life drama. And subscribe to our channel for more gripping narratives that explore the resilience of the human spirit. Your engagement helps us create and share more stories that speak to the heart.